we try to understand about how the computer is going to function and what are the steps involved in the functionality of the computer. So from this diagram, we understand the process in the computer will be happened in 4 steps or in 4 parts integrated together. One is called as input, the other one is called as storage, and the other one is called as process, and the other one is called as output. So a computer is nothing but a 4-step process machine. This is what we understand by saying process flow of the computer. Okay, am I clear? Otherwise, this is
Yes,
also
it's
called as
clear.
block diagram of computer. The reason why we happen to call it as block diagram of computer is that we are trying to represent the execution or functionality of the computer via using certain blocks or rectangle blocks. That's the reason we also call it as block diagram of computers. But today we don't call it as block diagram of computer. The same thing is called as a process flow of computer, making that functionality of the computer is done with 4 integrated steps like input, storage, process, and output. This is how the computer works, and this is how the computer functions in doing the desired, expected tasks based upon the application you are using or software you are using. Now, since we said that process flow, which is defining the functionality of the computer, when we try to detail down in understanding the 4-step process, which is defining the functionality of the computer, where we said that this 4-step process is done with the support of different devices and components. This is what we have to understand. So the input process is supported, our input process is done with various input devices or various input components which are used by the users working with the computer. And it is understood that these are all the different input devices which are available in the market, and some are one or all depending upon your environment. Some one or all will be used as your input devices in making the process called as giving the input to the computer. So since I said the process flow is defining the functionality of the computer, from the picture of the process flow you should understand, computer will first take input, and the given input will be stored, and after the given input is stored, it will be subjecting the input for processing, and after the processing is done, then we happen to get the output. So this is how the functionality of the computer happens. Since the process flow is saying that takes the input, stores and processes and gets the output, now it is done with various components or devices which are used by various users along with the computer, or a computer which is having all these things. Now these are all various different types of input devices will be used by users. A electronic slate will be used, or a mouse will be used, or a game controller will be used, or a joystick will be used, or a keyboard will be used, or a mic will be used. Now in this case of discussion, if you try to see, I'm using mouse and I'm using mic as my input for conduction of today's class on the Zoom platform. Do you all agree? Can mic and other components like mouse can be called as input? So likewise, why so many devices? Guesses why so many devices? Such input is required to we want to give it to the computer. That's the reason so many devices. Whenever you want to give audio input, you use mouse. Whenever you want to give text type of input and numerical type of input, you use keyboard. And whenever you want to guesses what input, what type of input would we be giving when we use the mouse? What type of input will be given to the computer when we use the mouse? Any one of you? What sort of input can be given when we use the mouse? See, when I use the keyboard, it is very much clear. I type in some text, or I type in some number or numbers. That is the input we are giving it via the keyboard. When I use a mic, it is my audio or voice is the input. So when I use the mouse, what kind of input?
To point.
A electronic pulse which is passed through the mouse to point. Yes, absolutely. To point to a graphic object, right? So likewise, we have different types of input devices or components for enabling different types of inputs to be given to the computer. So based upon your environment, you will be using one or more to have as input devices with the computer. Since computer is going to take input and then store and then process and then give the output, so these are the commonly found output devices or components used with the computer. We happen to use printer as an output device with the computer, and we happen to use monitor as an output device of the computer, and we also use headphones or earphones as an output device of the computer. In some cases, we use the projector as a output devices of a computer. Do you accept projector as an output device? Do you accept? Yes, projector also can be or will it is also an output device. And from the 4 types of devices mentioned to you or components mentioned to you as output devices or components of the computer, can you now classify and mention back to me what are the different types of outputs we can get from the computer? Any one of you, please?
A printer.
Printer is an output device. Yes, I understand you and accept. But what am I trying to mention is that since we have printer displayed to us, shown to us, monitor shown to us, earphones or headphones shown to us, and projector shown to us. Now, can you make a wild guess from this picture, which is projected to you as a different types of outputs, as a different types of output devices? So, can you guess and make me to understand what are the different types of outputs are derived? What are the different types of outputs are derived from the computer? That means, I mean to say, what are the different types of outputs we can get from the computer? We have something called as different types of outputs will be there. First point is that we have something called as different types of outputs will be there. I request you all to be please interactive. Different types of outputs, because I have shown you different types of output components. Definitely there should be something called as different types of outputs. No, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So what are your guesses about different types of outputs? A wild guess is that, I'm sorry, I'm unable to hear you. Can you please come again? Okay, so from the different output devices shown to you, you should make an understanding that computers do have these types of output devices to support different types of outputs, or different types of outputs will be given. That's the reason different types of output devices are there. Basically, what computer science says that your output will be in 2 forms, as hard copy output and as soft copy output. Accept? Agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. Yes.
That's a reason we are given with different types of output devices. Now, what kind of device you use for hard copy of output, and what kind of devices do you use for soft copy of output? Or what? Let me say, what is a hard copy of output, or what is a soft copy of output? Since we said we get 2 kinds of outputs, no? What is a hard copy? How do we understand what is hard copy of output?
Printer will come under hard copy of output.
Right. That is a device. Absolutely correct, ma. Then Then for soft copy, your monitor is understood to be as a soft copy output device. Screen, monitor in the sense screen. Hope all of us are using laptops.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So do we have a
Projectors,
screen? Yeah, projector, correct. Do we have an screen to the laptop? We have. Since we have the output which is presented via the monitors or the output which is presented via the projectors is always understood to be as a soft copy of output which is given by the computer. Anyhow, these are the devices. The devices which support the type of the output called as soft copy is monitor or monitors, and projector or projectors. And the devices which support hard copy of output of the computer are printers. But to define what is a hard copy means the output, okay, this is how we define the output which can be, okay, the output which can be touched and felt. Can you touch and feel the output which is given by the printer? Yes,
Yes.
no, please.
yes, sir.
That is the
Yes,
reason
yes.
we call it as hard copy. So this is other way of understanding to say computer will give two kinds of outputs. One is hard copy, and the device for giving different types of hard copies is different types of printers we have. But how do we define what is a hard copy of output which is given by the computer means? We will say a output which can be touched by us and can be felt is called as a hard copy, and printers are the devices. Then what about soft copy? The devices which are used by us. Is these colors are okay? Shall I change the pen color? Are you all feeling okay with the colors?
They are
Yes.
fine, sir.
Any distraction
fine.
you are experiencing?
No, nothing.
Right, good. Thank you, Ma. So how do you define now soft copy? Anyhow, we said we have devices like monitors, we have devices like projectors can be called as a soft copy output. So how do you define? We have a definition for hard copy output. So can you guess and define how do you define the soft copy output? It is very
The
simple,
output
no?
which we can just see
Yes.
on
We
the
can
screen.
see
Yeah.
and experience. The experience of the output is by visual, okay? By seeing it. So the output which can be seen or visually experienced. The output which is visually experienced, we call it as a soft copy, which you can't touch and feel, which you can only see and feel. Whatever is coming on the monitor right now, which we are trying to discuss about output, is only seen and felt by us, seen and experienced by us. That's the reason it is called a soft copy. Now, can you make the guesses of like what types of printers are there in the market? We also have something called as types of printers because we get